Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here today, and today turned out to be a very busy day. I was not able to really watch anything except for like a YouTube video or something, like something short like that. I was not really able to sit down and even watch something for my own pleasure. Well, except for something in the morning, but we won't talk about that. But anyways, I didn't really know what to do today for a video. I was going to review Madam Web, but again, I didn't really have time to watch it. And I'm going to be a little busy this evening because next week I'm going to be finally shooting scenes with actors for the first time. It's like really exciting because for years now, I've just had to put up with these frauds who don't actually act or do anything. And, finally I get to actually work with people who actually want to do the work and not just, get attention on social media. And so, that's pretty cool. So I've been talking with other actors about this, too, this certain topic that I decided to go through. And, I will be the first one to admit that I have problems making decisions sometimes. And I'll give you guys an example. And it's still, it was so bad that it still is kind of bothersome, except I guess not anymore because it was kind of resolved. But when I was a little kid, actually, I'll give you two examples. When I was a little kid, I was, going to Hollywood Video every Wednesday, and for the most part, I would get what I wanted. There was this one movie that was really new. It just came out. It was called Kangaroo Jack, and they had a big Kangaroo Jack poster on the wall. And, I know that it's a kind of like a crappy, good, bad movie, but I really kind of wanted to see it, and, I was offered to get it, and I just, for some reason, I said no. And so by the time that was over, it went out of video stores or something, I don't know, but, I missed out on Kangaroo Jack, and so, I didn't see that movie until years later when it was on Netflix, I think. I think it was, in 6th or 7th grade. 5th, 6th, or 7th. Because I remember the first time I watched it, and I had some Taco Bell and everything, and, that was fun, I guess. And then the other time, this time was the time where I was really kind of bummed out, and actually, now that I think about it, I think we could have actually seen it, so it was another kind of weird thing. So, when Batman Begins came out, I don't know, just for some reason I was like, no, I don't want to go see that in theaters. And then a month later or so, I think it still would have been in theaters. I was like, I want to go see that Batman movie. And I wasn't able to. And it was really, really sad, crappy, irritating. And so, yeah. But guess what I did in 8th grade? Or before 8th grade, when The Dark Knight Rises was coming out, they did a special promotional at Regal. You could see every Batman movie, so the trilogy, the Nolan trilogy, all at once. And I went and saw it. I saw Batman Begins in theaters, and it was such a great experience. It was funny because, we went there to see The Dark Knight Rises, but the movie that we ended up enjoying the most and having the most fun with was Batman Begins. Even though I had already seen it before many times, it was funny that we went there for this trilogy marathon, and the highlight of the evening was Batman Begins. It was the only thing really that we enjoyed. And actually, I should have done a video. I should have done a video about movie theater experiences. Damn it, that would have been so much easier. Because Yeah, that's what I should have done. But whatever. I've committed to this now. So basically, what I've been talking about with a couple of people, and by a couple of people I mean four people, but one of those turned out to be a fraud potentially. So probably just three people. And I won't talk about that right now. But anyways, I'm basically came up with a long list of, I don't know, like 20 projects that I could potentially work on. And I'd like to talk to you guys about those projects, or about most of them, the ones that I will be okay with exposing. So, anyways, first off, we got all the sequels to Doctor Imperfect and the Perfect Man. These sequels will be very, very important, obviously, because I have 4 movies worked out, plus a spin-off. The spin-off is going to be about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And the way that I came up with that idea is because originally, I think a couple of years ago, we saw that Two Faces of Dr. Jekyll from Hammer, and I thought, why in the hell haven't they done Dr. Jekyll versus Frankenstein? Because Dr. Jekyll is a scientist, Frankenstein is a scientist, and yet we have only seen Frankenstein face off against the Wolfman, Dracula. Why have we not seen these two doctors face off against each other? Like, when you think about it, it's kind of like a no-brainer. It's kind of like, they're both mad scientists. They're both, they both got some problems. And so that's what the series basically leads up to. And the spinoff I could make early. And the spinoff, I'm not going to tell you really about the plot because that would be spoilers. Spoiler city. I already have the whole plot mapped out. But it would be called Which One is Dr. Jekyll? ? The next one that I might do is Night Tour. And this will be a noir suspense thriller about a guy, and he discovers that he has a past life, and there's kind of like a mystery to it of like what really happened. He's got to piece together this mystery, and this psychic, or she's kind of like a fake psychic, she's kind of like a celebrity psychic type thing. She comes to this guy and she says, I'll take you around the country to do this like documentary, and we're going to go to all these places that you could have been or should have been in your past life, and we're going to see if we can piece together this mystery of what really happened. So basically, it's like them going around the country to these different places like Michigan, California, etc. And basically, it would all culminate in New Orleans, where they would find the last piece, the last quote unquote place, and it would be such an epic finale too. So this movie I'm really, really excited about. The only thing is that I'd kind of like to wait to do this movie when I have access to famous people, because the people whom I pictured in the roles I think would be really good. So that's the only thing. The next one is one where it kind of sprung off of another movie idea. So originally, in this other movie idea, this Valentine's Day movie, I had an idea about maybe one of the times you have this guy and a girl, and they go to this hotel, and the girl is an alcoholic instead of the guy in The Shining, and shit happens. But I thought I could make this into a whole movie, because I started coming up with this idea, And I'm not going to tell you like what's really going on at this hotel, but it's kind of like a symbolic for the creative process. So like every floor of the hotel is like a different level of like an imagination. And so like one level is like the past, one level is the future, one floor is I don't know, whatever. I haven't come up with it yet, but you get the idea. And I also came up with this idea when I was doing some research about missing people, and I came across this writer who went missing in the 90s, and I was really interested in her story. And so I kind of like really wanted to do a story about like a character similar to her, as well as this guy, and they go to this hotel and just everything goes wrong at this hotel. And another thing too is that this hotel is in Florida. And so like it makes everything worse. It's like The Shining but in Florida. And so I thought that would be really cool. And I kind of like to have a line in the movie where the guy or the girl is like, please, 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 God, I don't want to die in Florida. So I really like that idea. I could definitely do that idea next. Another one. This one I actually finished the first draft. Haven't gotten any feedback yet, but that's a different issue. This is my Valentine's Day movie, Finally Feasting on Your Heart. This movie is Groundhog Day meets Valentine's Day, but with a horror twist. It's all about this guy. He's very lonely. He's very fed up with the state of modern dating and the dating world of like, just terrible, terrible shit. And terrible in terms of like, how are you supposed to date in the modern day and age? It's just completely like terrible. So he's kind of like a Scrooge character, he's very negative. And so on Valentine's Day, he falls into this hole, which I directly was inspired by that hole in my backyard, that I thought that could be like a hole that a serial killer used to dispose of his bodies or something. And so I thought he falls in this hole, and there is the ghost of a serial killer down there, and he gives him 4 chances to find his perfect Valentine. So he's going to hook up with 4 different chicks, and if things don't work out with each of them, they get murdered. And that is the caveat. That is the catch to his deal, is that you can only get these 4 chances if you agree that if they don't work out, I get to kill them. Because I'm a serial killer, even though I'm a ghost, I want to celebrate Valentine's Day the way that I like to celebrate it, by killing people. It's going to be epic. It's going to be a classic for sure, hopefully. Because like I think that is something that people don't really take into consideration with like holiday movies, is that like, let's say that the Valentine's Day movie is the only good movie that I ever make, or it's the only movie that people ever like. I would rather be known for like that one classic holiday movie than be known for like a bunch of okay to good movies, Because how many people still talk about Groundhog Day? How many people still talk about like Christmas Vacation, Home Alone? These are movies that live on forever. Whereas, other movies, they don't really, some of them do, but a lot of them don't. But the only caveat about this movie is that I cannot make it until after I've made another movie on this list. I'm not going to spoil which movie that is, because that would kind of give you a little hint about what goes on in the movie, or about characters or something. I don't know. You could come up with a theory and then just comment it. Maybe one person will like it. I don't know. I guess that I'll probably like it. Next up is I've Been Bitten. I've already had this script written. I was supposed to make this, and then the pandemic happened, and then the actors all became frauds. That was really tragic. Like one of the main actors, she moved to Puerto Rico without telling anyone, and then she pretended like she didn't know that it was an unpaid role. Like it was really, really irritating with that movie. That movie was like a cursed movie. It was terrible. Like everything just completely went wrong, even though it could be really good. And so this movie, it's all about a guy, or I mean, not a guy. He's a teenage boy, and he's from Germany. He moves to Ohio, and he falls in love with the head popular girl. And through a couple of interactions, she tells him jokingly that she's only interested in dating vampires. And he takes that to heart. He tries turning himself into a vampire through a variety of ways, and basically completely destroys himself as a person in order to fit this imaginary role that she's given him, or she's asked of him, or just said to him, whatever. And the thing about this movie is that it's very, very dark. It's a very ugly movie at certain points. It's very cruel, but it's also very funny at certain points. It has a lot of good humor in it. It also has multiple endings. It is something where I thought, this is the one movie where I want to have multiple endings. So there's like 5 endings. And then that's the fun thing about the sequels for this movie, is that you could literally just make anything with these characters and it would still count, because the movie does not ever end with just one ending. It ends in a million different ways. So like you could continue on and do a sequel where you use an ending that wasn't even in the first one. And the reason why I really want to make this movie is, again, because this movie would revitalize the vampire genre, hopefully. That is my goal with it. And next up, this is a tough one here, because I wrote 3/4 of the script and then I stopped because it kind of felt like the story wasn't over yet. And it was already like nearing the 3-hour movie mark. So I thought maybe I should let things finish up in a certain way and then go back to this and finish it. But I already talked about this earlier on in the year, or last year, where I did that video about deciding my next project. So this would be an autobiography about myself growing up, wanting to make movies, and finally making my first movie, including all the high points and low points. And it's called Little Contemplations of a Vast Imagination. The only thing about this is that I would want to do it big, which would mean I would need to recreate my house that was destroyed by terrorists. And so that would be a little difficult to do at this time. But that is also an idea. So if you're interested in that, if you're interested in any of these, what I'd like you to do is to write a comment and then say which project you think that I should make most, because I asked a couple of the actors, because I really like to work with them more, since they're not going to be starring with me in this film that I'm working on. So I'd kind of like to give them the spotlight, because I think that they're talented, and that's what I like to do. If I find talent, I like to highlight it, which is pretty funny, because it's like a lot of the quote-unquote talent, for some reason, doesn't want to be highlighted. They just want to be frauds online on TikTok and shit. So the next one, this one would just be kind of like a fun thing. Like, I don't even know. Like, I'd have to really, like, tinker around with it. But Super Dumbasses Part 2. So, as you guys know, I made a mockumentary. It was called Super Dumbasses. It was just me and a couple friends hanging out. And it was okay. It had its moments. It was fun. Some of the time. Well, since then, things have kind of changed. And when I made the first movie, you know, I told you guys back then that it wasn't even what I originally wanted to do, or what we originally planned to do. But also, I always had in mind an idea for a sequel, because I thought, this whole movie has just been guys. It would be really funny and fun to do like a mockumentary with like girls, or to do it with like me and a guy and a couple of girls or something. I don't know, you know, just hanging out or going across the country somewhere. Well, the perfect opportunity has kind of come up. So you guys know Jackie Poo from Super Dumbasses. Well, he moved to New York, and it would be the perfect movie if you get me, maybe Vicious Schwa, probably not. He doesn't really do anything anymore. And then like a girl or something, and then like do the same type of movie, going to New York, and it ends with hanging out with Jackie Poo in New York and trying not to get killed in New York or something like really fun like that. But it would have to be planned out, and it would be a little bit different than these other things, because it would be a mockumentary, you know, and probably mostly improv, probably just thousands and thousands of hours of footage that maybe a lot of it doesn't even get used. But like, I think that this would be a lot of fun, even though like maybe people wouldn't even watch it or anything. But like, I think that this would be a lot of fun. Maybe I'll try to step it up and like actually come up with a script or something, like in The Office, you know, instead of just like, I mean, you guys saw in the movie, though, a lot of the time in that movie, it worked out perfectly. Like, a lot of that stuff, you'd think it was scripted, but it wasn't. You know, a lot of the stuff, even the bad stuff, you know, like the part where I fell off of the skateboard, like, that was terrible. And, you know, lucky I didn't get a concussion. So the next one is Dead Out of Luck. No script yet. This would be a thriller suspense movie about a guy who, and I know that a lot of these movies have been about guys, and honestly, if I have an idea about a female character, I will literally jump to make that movie. You know, like, I just have to wait until it comes to me. You know, like, I wait for the ideas to come to me. I don't like try to force them out or anything. Unless it's like doing a review, you know, I have to force those out a lot of the time. I'm just kidding. But this movie would be about a guy who bought a piece of a house where a horrible murder was committed. Obviously, you guys can see where a lot of these ideas come from. They're inspired by things. Terrible things start happening, and it makes him wonder, is this piece of the house haunted? And is it cursed? Is it causing me all this bad luck? What is the real reason for all this bad luck? So the thing behind this movie was, I was thinking about all those bad day movies. You know, those comedies where people just have a bad day for like 2 hours and they just get shit on for 2 hours. And I was thinking, what if I made like a thriller movie with that same concept, where you're really feeling sorry for this guy. He just keeps getting terrible luck because he's dead out of luck. And I won't tell you what the twist is or anything, but or anything else, but you know, Poor Ambrosio is the next one. This movie, no script. This would be inspired by the disappearance of Ambrose Small. So, Ambrose Small was this Canadian theater owner. he went missing one day, and they just could not figure out what happened to him because, he was very, very unlikable. He had so many enemies, and everyone wanted him dead practically. He was like Jimmy Hoffa kind of in terms of that. Well, Jimmy Hoffa, I think, was a better guy. He was really kind of like a prick, and, they never figured out what happened to him. And I came up with this idea where, this would be kind of like my Phantom of the Opera. So, I've Been Bitten is like my Dracula. Dr. Imperfect and the Perfect Man is like my my Frankenstein. Poor Ambrosio would be my Phantom of the Opera. So that's what I'll tell you guys. This movie would go through the week leading up to his disappearance. But then, after that, we would go back in time. And we would go through that week once again. But we would reveal a couple of more things that you didn't know. And we would show like a different side of what's going on. And then we would do it again, finally, to reveal another layer of what's really going on. And so just that idea of like peeling back these layers to try to figure out like what really happened is really, really cool to me, because it's like, it's kind of creepy. Like you just keep on peeling back these layers and things. Because like Ambrose Small, he had like a secret room and shit like that. Like he went through these passageways around his fucking theater like he's a fucking Phantom of the Opera. He had a secret room where he would take people and shit. Like, he had some weird stuff going on. And so, like, I thought this could be a really, really good movie. But again, I think that it would be better to wait to have more of a budget, because having, like, a whole theater and things like that would be really, really difficult to do right now. The next one is Untitled. No script. Just 1 second. This would be a slasher about a summer camp where parents pay for these people at the summer camp to kill their children. And I'm not kidding, like, these misfit children, these outcasts, these bad children. And the thing is that one or two of the children are good kids, and they end up accidentally being forced to stay there. And so they have to work together with the bad kids to escape this summer camp. And, everyone wants to do... Well, everyone loves summer camp movies. Like, come on. So that's my summer camp idea. Now, the next one would be a trilogy. Not all of them would have to be made one after the other. And this one's kind of sad to me because, like, the main actor or one of the main actors... I can't find any way to contact him anymore, and he was perfect for the role of the certain person, and like, I just wish that he could be in the movie, because like, he was perfect for it, and he was like one of the first people I ever cast in anything, and like, he was really excited about it. He has friends that he can stay with in Dayton and stuff, so I wouldn't have to pay for a hotel or anything. And then also the main actress, she was the first person I ever cast. And she was perfect for the role. But it's just sad because she's a fraud. She still follows me, though. It's pretty weird. She's just completely unavailable, though. So that's the sad thing, is that, like, if I could make this movie with those people, I'd be really, really excited about it. But if not, I would have to find actors who would fit these roles as good as they did, and I just don't know if I can, because once I kind of picture someone in a role, it's hard for me to not really picture them in that role anymore, because, I have that photographic imagination, or is that what they call it? That's fucking stupid. But this movie, anyways, this would be a horror suspense comedy about a snuff filmmaker named Mark, and he makes snuff films for the senator, a state senator, And as well, there is this drug dealer for the senator named Max. And basically, Max becomes a fan of Mark, and he gets into competition with him to make better snuff films for the senator. I guess that's kind of like the plot. And, obviously Mark, he gets this love interest character, and she completely changes everything because, she's not down with that, I guess you'd say. And another twist on it is that Mark, his snuff films, he only kills people who are criminals. So he also procures them from a jail. He bribes the people at jail. I know that sounds funny, but he bribes people in power to give away criminals to Mark so that he can kill them. And he feels good about it because he's killing criminals. Max, however, will kill anyone. So that's another thing. And, this trilogy, actually, it is a lot like Ty West's X trilogy. And that's the funny thing about it, is that, this trilogy is, it's very much like a tribute to Hollywood, like certain eras and types of movies. So, the first one is more of, an 80s type of thing. It's like an 80s horror movie. And then the second one is like a 70s or 90s road trip type of thing, like Lost Highway a little bit. And then the third one takes place in Hollywood, and it's actually sort of like a 70s type of thing, I guess. I don't know. But, that's what it reminded me of, just the fact that they're all like a tribute to horror movies and Hollywood and stuff. And so it was kind of funny that a couple of years after I came up with that, Ty West came out with that X trilogy. But I guess this trilogy would be better because the story isn't trash. So anyways, yeah, that was a long pitch for that one. I'm going to go a little faster because I still have quite a few to get through. The next one was just an idea that I came up with, untitled. So it's a horror comedy about a guy who breaks up the marriage of his lost love. Like a girl that he fell in love with early on in life. She got married. Well, he is able to break up the marriage. And when he does that and he gets with her, he finds out that she's insane. And so that is the idea. I don't know. The next one is called Fearworm. Like earworm? Well, instead of earworm, it's Fearworm. This is a dystopian horror movie, kind of like They Live. It's all about this shill critic like Chris Stuckman, and he is offered an experience to live in a Disney-style world made up of corporations controlling your life completely, and what you do, how you live, everything. And he lives in it only to discover it's a nightmare, and there's no way he can escape. Because he's a shill, and he signed his life away because he's a fucking retard. And the next one is I'm a Shitty Filmmaker, literally. I'm not going to put literally in the title, but this movie would be a comedy, like The Disaster Artist, about a guy who tries making his own Two Girls, One Cup to try to match the success of Two Girls, One Cup. And things go horribly, horribly wrong. And then after everything goes wrong, somehow he makes the movie, finishes it, and he wins an Oscar. That would just be insane. You guys know how insane that would be? That would be... I really want to do that one, honestly. That's going to be so funny and fun. And probably controversial, which is good because controversy is better than boring shit. The next one is kind of like a Twilight Zone anthology movie. where we get to see a series of dreams and nightmares from random people with like a host who introduces them. And there's one dream in particular that I had years ago that I really, really like to make into a movie, or actually a couple of nightmares. And so, like, maybe it could even be like, I don't know, like 10 to 20 nightmares and dreams, like random stories that don't even have any reason or ending or anything, you know. The next one, now I'm not really a big fan of this idea, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. The next one is kind of like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark meets Children of the Corn. So this one's about a family, and they're on a road trip in the Midwest. And all of a sudden, you know, they're listening to these horror story cassette tapes. And all of a sudden, these tapes start to warn them about terrible things that are going to happen to them on this trip. And they basically have to use these cassette tapes to figure out how to escape this nightmare. And I do have 2 I've Been Bitten sequels. They obviously can't be made until after I've Been Bitten has been made. The next one is called The Whole Weekend, Girls Only. This is no script yet. This one would be about a bachelorette party where it reveals the true nature of a group of young women who spend the weekend together torturing male strippers. Eventually, one of them gets killed, and they're forced to cover up the crime. So this one's kind of inspired by Rope, and it's just kind of inspired off of 2 of, like, you know, there's lots of bachelorette horror stories about, like, what happens in those parties. And it would be fun, you know, might be. I don't know. I'd have to do some tinkering with it because it's kind of a cheap idea. It's kind of like an exploitation movie type idea, so I'd have to tinker around with that one. The next one is the serial killer movie about a gay serial killer in Indiana. He was killed by his partner. His partner was never caught. He was possibly a part of a cult. His story is really, really insane. But the problem is that I'd like to find out, like, what really happened before I made a movie. Like, you know, because, I mean, this movie could be really, really good. Like, this movie, I would also like to wait until I had bigger people to be in the movie, because that's how excited about the movie I am. The next one is called Traveling to the Demon. This would be a suspense thriller adventure movie about a guy who encounters a girl who has been sex trafficked and missing for over 20 years. She's then taken away by a group of men, and he becomes obsessed with tracking her down and saving her from her life of misery. Next up is Untitled. This one's kind of a weak idea, I admit, because I just read it, and I was like, oh, I don't even remember writing that down. Or actually, I do. This would be, in this one, a one-night stand turns into forever as a guy and a girl are stuck together inside a vault after nuclear war ensues. That would be insane. Next up is Untitled, suspense thriller. This one is actually so simplistic that it gives away the ending. It's just a very dark and unpleasant ending. So in this movie, a man grooms a teenage girl until she agrees to run away with him. And the movie takes place over their long drive after she agrees to run away with him. And the suspense of it is that the drive, you know, eventually they're going to have to stop at a motel and sleep. And so basically the drive will eventually end with him taking her to a motel and raping her there, you know. And so the suspense is knowing that the whole movie, that, like, this is how it's going to end up. and it would make a very like stomach churning experience. Probably get a lot of people on Twitter upset. Hopefully. The next one is untitled, no script. This is based on true experiences I had. So in this movie, a young boy gets entangled in a world of dark fantasy and strange people when he joins an online vampire dating site or networking site. And basically, it would be kind of interesting because like the world reflected in his school that he's trying to escape from is like a lot like the world that's on this vampire website. So it's kind of like ironic, and it goes completely insane, and probably make a lot of stuff up in the third act of the movie, and then be very accurate to real life in the first two acts. But that one would be really good, really creepy. Maybe kind of like a Catfish type of movie, you know, that type thing. Like, remember when that Catfish trailer came out, made it look like it would be a horror movie, and then the movie came out and it was just like a drama thing? It was such a piece of shit. And like that's what I really like to emulate with this movie, is that trailer where you thought it was going to be a horror movie. And this movie would be that horror movie that you were hoping for if you go watch the trailer for Catfish, the movie from like I think 2014 or 20 whatever. That was such a disappointment, by the way. Like, I remember being so let down. That's probably like one of the biggest disappointments in movie history to me. Lastly, this is an idea that I've had for a while. It's just kind of like a fun... It's kind of purposefully like an exploitation 1970s throwback. I was picturing like, you know, my good old friend of my past life, Dennis Hopper. I was picturing him as the leader of this group of alligator people. And basically, this is about a group of friends who go to Florida for a fun trip. And it's like Texas Chainsaw meets alligators fucking shit up. And they discover this abandoned neighborhood. It's partially underwater, and the neighborhood has been taken over by a group of alligator people. And it's funny. It's so funny because a lot of these ideas, you know, they end up getting made in different ways. Because you know what this movie's kind of like? It's kind of like that movie Crawl by Sam Raimi. You know, where the girl gets stuck in the neighborhood underwater with alligator. You know, like, I haven't even seen that movie, but I know that it's a little bit like this movie, except in this movie they would be hybrid alligator, half human. So anyways, this is a long video. I hope you enjoyed it. These are my ideas, and tell me which one you think I should make next. You know, I might not do what you suggest next, or I might if you make a good case for it. I just thought that this would be a fun video to do, because, you know, they are what they are. They're ideas, and you know. Oh, and something really nice happened, by the way. So the actress who moved to Florida without telling anyone, she was actually a replacement for the original actress who was supposed to play this character in I've Been Bitten. And the original actress from I've Been Bitten is actually friends with me on Facebook now. And so she's actually going to be in I've Been Bitten when we make that. And she also might work with me on other stuff. She's really excited about it. She, you know, she's been wanting to do it. She wants to do comedies mostly, but she wants to do a horror movie as well. So anyways, please like this video and comment for sure, because I spent 50 minutes talking about these movies and I haven't even cooked dinner yet, unfortunately, because just today has been so busy. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more videos like this, because I like making videos like this, not just because I don't have to, you know, watch and review a movie, but just because, like, it's fun. It's like a fun topic, and maybe some of the ideas you could even make jokes about in the comments, like, so yeah, goodbye everybody, see you soon.